There is a topic of conversation, a debate going on in regards to the among the Walking Dead fans in regards to the um, TV show and the two groups in it right now, Rick's group, Negan's group, and which group should be considered the good guys and which group should be considered the bad guys. And also, one thing that needs to be addressed is the morality of the show, of the morality of the world that they live in. Now, has morality changed? No, morality in and of itself has not changed. Just the consequences of your moral choices have changed, and also the circumstances in which you make these moral choices, or if that makes any sense. To better explain that is, there are choices that one has to make during the zombie apocalypse, post-apocalypse, that they would not have to make pre-apocalyptic in the pre-apocalyptic world. And also, the repercussions of those choices are different. There may be choices that you make in the post-apocalyptic world where you don't face any type of punishment for those moral choices or immoral choices, depending on which way you want to look at it. Whereas in the pre-apocalyptic world, you would. Obviously, murder is illegal in the pre-apocalyptic world. So if you murdered somebody, you would go to jail. Period. In the story. Or if you even in self-defense, there's still legal action that would be taken against you. That's not taken against you in the post-apocalyptic world. Now there are other consequences that you have to face. If you killed somebody in the post-apocalyptic world, then somebody else may come along and kill you out of revenge for that. So then it's not as though you can get away with stuff, even though you can. It's just the response to your moral actions, the consequences to your moral choices differ. Now, let's talk about the two groups. Now, a lot of people, now, I think it varies because there are some people who may look at Rick's group as it's like the, I think their biggest argument is, you can't look at Negan's group as being bad guys because of the things that they do, because Rick's group has done some not so nice things, and you can't go, well, Rick's group is good, while Negan's group is bad, when both groups have done bad things, both people have done bad things. Now, this is true, both people have done bad things, but, and it really is a tough debate to have. Because like a lot of people, they'll sit there and they'll say, when they're in defense of Negan, they'll go, "Whoa, you don't know Negan, you don't know his backstory, you don't know what he's been through. He's doing what he needs to do to protect his people and all this stuff. And if you understood where he came from and why he does the things he does, then you will see that he is not necessarily an evil person." That may be the case, and that's a valid point, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not the bad guy in the scenario. That's the important thing. You got to look at it this way. You got to break these down different, and it depends on the context in which you're talking about them, and scenarios, or whatever the case may be. If in the entire Walking Dead universe, entire world of the Walking Dead, with all the different groups and stuff, is Negan's group the most evil group out there that they've ever encountered, or that they could ever possibly encounter? No, they're not. But if you break it down to just being between Negan's group and Rick's group, between Negan and Rick, well, then it's easier to separate the two. And I know because there's a lot of people that sit there and say, well, Negan, just like Rick does whatever he can to survive, Negan does whatever he can to survive. Both groups have done whatever they could to survive, yes. But look at the choices they made, because the choices are not necessarily the same in their interactions with other people. You see, with Rick, I'm going off the TV show, and I'm going off memory here, and I'm trying to go through. The only time Rick's group that I can recall ever went on the most atrocious thing I've ever seen Rick's group do was when they made the deal with the Hilltop. And they went in there and they decided to murder all those people in their sleep. Going back to this, that instance was the one and only time that Rick's group, in my opinion, stepped over a line, because they just took the Hilltop's word for it. And they really didn't have much interaction or have much knowledge on the saviors or Negan. Now they ran into, I guess the only thing is they ran into that one group on the road that Daryl, Abraham, and Rosita, or was it Sasha? Well, one of them. They ran into that one group on the side of on the road who said that they were going to take their stuff. All their stuff belongs to Negan, and then Daryl blew them up with a rocket launcher. Yeah, okay, that was their only experience with that group. That was it. But and I guess they decide. I guess the situation. I guess a lot of factors play into it. And here comes those more choices. The Hilltop. I mean, Rick's group was in dire straits. They needed supplies. They were running out of food. They were in a desperate situation. And they had lived in this world long enough and ran into enough people to think that they could get a read on the type of people that they are. And they probably felt, well, hey, Daryl Abraham and Sasha told us about, or Daryl Abraham and Rosita told us about this group. No, it's Sasha. I think it was, Sasha. No, it's Rosita. God damn, I can't remember. How do I not know which one it was? That's absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, Daryl, Abraham, and whichever one was with him, they probably told Rick, hey, this group did this, they said this, and then Rick goes, well, we heard about this group, we had an altercation with them, so therefore we could take this guy at his word that they must be bad. We're looking around at the life that they're living here, and they seem to be living a relatively peaceful life, growing crops and stuff. So, yeah, we could take this group at their word. And of course, maybe if Rick's group wasn't in that desperate situation, they could have handled things differently. They would have handled things differently. Who knows? Maybe if they had never met that one faction of the Saviors, Rick's group could have made a different call to handle things differently. You never know. But that was the one time Rick's group, I think, sort of was on the line, if not crossed the line. But everything else, every single thing else has been retaliation. It's been they were attacked first and then they retaliated. And of course you got to think back to and I want to bring this up too. You're thinking back to the governor. Well, first and foremost, they had the first gunfight with the governor when the governor first tried to invade the prison, and they ran him off. Then after that, they went back to Alexandria, and Rick took the people of Alexandria and he brought them to the prison to live, to be a part of that community. And then when the governor showed up with his new people, Rick offered the new people the same deal. He said, we can all live in the prison. And then, of course, those idiots didn't want to do that. Of course, the governor was a crazy fuck anyway. And so, everything went to hell that day. But still, Rick was willing to let the people come in and live with him. So that points to the type of person Rick is. And of course, he struggles back and forth. Now, I'm not overly familiar with Negan and all the stuff and choices that he's had to make, but what I do know is this. Negan brings people in. I think in the last episode with Morales, and of course that whole episode, I talked about that episode and, just how they kept playing with the morality of the two people, like who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, whatever. Morales makes the case, hey, you know what, I was alone, I was desperate, I was at the end of my straits. The Saviors found me and they made me feel like I was worth a damn. They saw value in me and that's how they brought me in. So that's why. So it shows that maybe they're not that bad in that way. But then when you look at their interactions when that group runs into Daryl and them, the interactions with the deal that they have with the Hilltop and all these other places, yeah, the Saviors will bring you in, but there is a cost to it. There is a cost. And that's the fundamental difference between Rick's group and Negan's group. Now, some people have it better than others. I think I'm not sure if the Saviors are the entire group or if the Saviors just the group of people that have a little bit more freedoms, the ones who actually go out and do the fighting while the workers stay inside the Negan's compound, whatever. But let's look at let's compare the workers to the citizens of Alexandria, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, no, was it Alexandria? No, was that Alexandria, but then when they were at the prison, Woodbury, the people of Woodbury, that's what I'm talking about. Rick brings the people of Woodbury into the prison to be a part of the community. And they, of course, they all work together. They all contribute to the society and everything because that's what you have to do. But if any of those people wanted to leave, they could leave. Rick wouldn't. Rick may be like, hey, I don't want to go. You can stay. You can come back. Whatever the case may be. Be careful. But if those people chose to leave, they could leave. Um, they're really not forced to stay. And but whereas with Negan's group, if you join the group and you try to leave for whatever reason, no, Dwight. When we first met Dwight and Sherry, they were running away from Negan. Why? Because they realized life there wasn't that great, and they wanted to get away. They saw who Negan was. They see who Negan is. See, truly see who he is, or whatever the case may be, or they see their perception of Negan, and they didn't like it, so they decided to leave. What did Negan do? Negan hunted them down and brought them back. Negan was going to kill them both, at least kill the wife, but then Sherry stepped up and said, hey, don't kill my husband, I'll marry you if you don't kill him. And of course, Negan spared Dwight, burnt his face with an iron. It teach people a lesson. Hey, look, if you run away, this is what you get. These are the rules. You break the rules. That's it. Boom. And a lot of people sit there and they go, well, Negan has these rules, and if you don't break the rules, then you'll be fine. It's like, what? A lot of dictators and tyrants have rules, all right? They have rules because they need you to be obedient. And in order for you to be obedient, there has to be rules that you must follow. So it's that sort of it's mental manipulation through obedience and punishment. Is why Negan has the rules that he has. I'm sure that there are rules, and all over. I'm sure that even Rick's group has rules. I'm sure that Hilltop has rules. But the difference is, like, Rick isn't gonna burn somebody's face off because they break the rules. Especially, and of course, they're going to have a variety of different rules. Again, Rick's not going to have a rule that says you can't leave if you choose to leave. Negan does. Now, again, people say Negan's just doing what he has to do to protect his people. And it's awful funny that in order to protect his people, he has to turn some of them into, he has to basically turn them all into indentured servants. That's what they are. If you work somewhere, if you're somewhere and if you're working somewhere and you can't leave that place, you're an indentured servant. Now, again, a lot of people probably go there because they have nowhere else to go. You're in the zombie apocalypse. You have to be protected. Now, a lot of times, there's a whole sense like, how much of your freedom are you willing to give up for protection? Some of these people may feel that they may feel, hey, it sucks here, but at least I'm safe here and I'm protected here. So I will continue to live in this environment because there's nothing else out there for me. They may feel like that. But if they felt that there was something out there for them, then maybe they would leave and go somewhere else. Dwight and Sherry felt that way. Dwight and Sherry said, hey, we'd rather take our chances out here than stay here because here sucks. And then what happens? Negan hunts them down, takes them back, burns Dwight's face as punishment. Now, in the moment, in the present time, that is what makes Negan the bad guy. That's what separates Rick and Negan. That's what makes Negan the bad guy. That's what makes Rick the good guy, because Rick does not do those things. Rick does not punish you if you choose to leave the group. Rick does not punish you if you simply screw up something. So that's the difference between Rick and Negan. Now, there was something else I was going to say too, but I think it kind of slipped my mind because I started talking about the other thing. Let me think. So you have Rick and Negan, and then you have Negan, and then, so, yeah, oh yeah, present time, that's what I'm talking about. In the present time, now, Negan's the bad guy. Negan's the dictator, he's a tyrant, he's the bad guy. Oh yeah, the movie Hero, you ever seen the movie Hero with Jet Li? Oh, the movie, of course, the concept of that movie was, Jet Li's character was going to assassinate an emperor of China, or what was then going to be China, or a leader, anyway, a warlord, whoever he was. And anyway, he gets to the palace, He's invited to the palace. He answers 3 questions. Each answer he gets right, or each answer that satisfies that emperor person, he gets to get closer. And then he gets to get closer. And then he gets to within striking distance. He's been practicing this one technique that surefire will be able to kill the emperor. Or kill this warlord leader, whoever he was. And the person knows this. And the person goes, before you make your choice, let me explain to you why I'm doing the things that we're doing. Because in the story, it was, I think, his village, Jet Li's village, was destroyed. His mom or somebody was killed. There were other people that you ran into who were victims of this tyrannical leader who was just waging war across the land and just this evil person. And he goes, we are divided as a people. I'm trying to bring us together so that we can be stronger. So here's this person doing all these bad things because he has good intentions. He's thinking about the big picture, the long run. Now, you could sit there and say that maybe Negan's thinking that way. Maybe Negan's going up thinking about the big picture, the long run. So this is why I'm doing the things that I need to. I need to do these things in order to build society up to where society can survive on its own. You see, so that's why I say in the now, if you had to choose, if you had literally had to choose, there's no choice, there's no gray areas, black and white, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, Rick or Negan, period. No other options other than that. And what, in the now, you would say, Negan's the bad guy. But if you were in that world and you were living through the stuff Negan was putting you through, yeah, you would consider Negan to be a tyrant or a bad guy. 100 years after the fact, 200 years after the fact, maybe after society has been built up a little bit, what's the history books going to say about Negan? The history books would probably speak of Negan in a much, and this is if Negan wins out, and if Negan takes control, and if society starts to build up around Negan, well, then people are going to look at Negan as the great savior. Interesting enough, that's what his group's called, the saviors. People will look at Negan as a savior. So in the present time, Negan's the bad guy. But in a possible future, society built around what Negan started, people will look back and they'll think of Negan as the good guy. And that's usually how things work out. So really, again, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy? It really has to deal with perception and context. And, just a little bit of a side note, in terms of just the fans, I think some fans probably think Negan as the good guy, not because of who he is or what he's been through or what his reason is, but just because they like the guy. Period, end of story. They like him, they think he's cool, they think he's hot, whatever the case may be. That plays into it. That probably plays into why they like the character, why they side with the character so much. I would like to know if you took the saviors and the saviors behaved exactly the way they do now in the comics or in the TV show, and I'm not familiar with so much the comics, but the TV show. Good TV show. They behave exactly the way they did in the TV show, but Negan isn't there. Negan never existed. It was somebody, or maybe Dwight was the leader, or maybe that one rat-faced prick who shot that kid with long hair, who shot the kid from the hilltop. I can't remember his name. He's not important anyway. If he was in charge, or maybe if what's his name? Who's the guy that always deals with Gregory at the hilltop? The one with the mustache. I can never remember his name. I always call him Discount Negan. No, actually, he doesn't seem like a bad guy in of himself. He just seems like some supervisor who's just there doing his job. Anyway, or if he was in charge, or whoever was. Anyway, you take the character of Negan out of it completely, and he was never around, never existed, and the Saviors still behaved the way they did. Would you still like the Saviors? Would you still consider the Saviors to be good guys? Or is it because of the charisma and likability of that one particular character that has you overlooking or at least making excuses for the flaws that he does? Or really, is it a situation too? Because a lot of people that sit there and go is like, we know Negan does bad things, but no, so does Rick's group. So really, a lot of the complaints that they have is really, it's not that we really think Negan is such a really great guy or his groups are just, the moral compass of the world. Is just that they get irritated when people act like Rick's group is a bunch of angels when they're not. So anyway, like I said before, it's really it's really very fluid the way things are in regards to who's good, who's bad, what's this, what's that, who's more wrong, who's morally right, whatever the case may be. It really does change and flow, and I can see why there's a huge debate on it. I mean, really, I mean, you can make valid arguments for both cases, but at least in my case, and now if I had to pick and choose solely between those who would be out of those two groups, who would be good, who would be evil, um, I would go with. It's like, and there's really it's like, and is evil really the right word to use? To be honest with you, because I can go Negan's group would be evil. Of course, you could tell if you watched and seen the song, but is evil really the right word to use? Um, or because I don't think any of them are necessarily evil. Evil. Um, I think if you want to talk about evil, who would be eviler than or more evil than Rick's group or Negan's group? Well, then there's the people from the sanctuary. With the sanctuary, the ones who were the cannibals, they would be more evil. And then of course there's who is it? The governor. Now the governor was but really, is the governor evil or was the governor just demented? Because the governor set up a community just like me. The government had a community set up and people he cared about and everything, but the governor was just had mental issues. So really, is he considered evil or is he just considered crazy? But in any event, I think the best way to describe the groups in the between Rick's group and Negan's group is that you could really look at them as both being uh, initially good people who have to do bad things. And in that case, none of them is really evil. They're just like that, good people who have to do bad things. And of course, then the argument goes, well, who's done worse things? Because they're both doing things for their own communities and for survival. Who's done worse? Well, Negan's done worse. But does that make him evil? No. But does it make him more evil than Rick? Maybe. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. If you have any thoughts on it, just let me know. Leave them in the comment section down below. I guess that's all I have to say about that. So until next time, I will catch you on the flip side.